So at this point, I know most of you guys, and most of you have been with me for a while, and we know what the core traits of a narcissist is. But I think a lot of times in order to start healing, we need to know why they are the way they are. And if you guys have ideas, I'd love to hear them. If you think, if you have an idea of why they are the way they are. Yes, Diana.
Some narcissists, not all, but some have issues from past trauma, could be from childhood relationship. They didn't deal with it, or they dealt with it the best way they could, and then they let that continue into their adulthood to where they want to control or mistreat others.
Okay. What about you, Scott?
From past childhood or family affected by that. Maybe it could also be affected by depression, but I think the biggest piece is that they only care for themselves.
Okay. What about you, Danielle?
Yes, so my narcissist is my mother. So I did try to have a lot of empathy until it hurt my daughter. But anyhow, I believe it is a very traumatic experience that happened when they were very, very young, and to protect themselves and help their child, and they put up a false self, a sort of a false identity, a shield of armor, if you will, that sort of took over and became who they are. In order to protect themselves. And I also understand that it could be from being extremely entitled. So quite the opposite of a traumatic experience, but sort of not learning boundaries and so forth.
Wonderful. Thank you. Kiki.
So all my research, they get bored so easily, and they need constant gratification. They need to be stimulated by somebody to make them feel good about themselves. And if they're not getting it from their not their source, but their supply, their main supply, they'll seek it out. They'll seek out that gratification to make themselves feel what they need. It's almost like a drug for them. Yep. And if you're not giving them their high, they'll find it.
Great. Thank you. Eddie.
I think it's a learned behavior. In my situation, my ex's mom is a narcissist. Mm-hmm. The difference between them two is my ex is a covert and her mom is not. So where it's learned behavior, it also branches off from past childhood trauma too. So I think it's a combination of all that.
Okay. Anyone else? Kiki again, or is this from last time? So, hello, Jill, Kelly, Andrea. How are you guys?
Doing fine, thank you.
Good. I just want to make sure you guys know I have a hard stop at 5:30 Eastern time today. I have a meeting that I need to be in. I apologize, but I will have to go. So I will let you guys, I'll give you a couple minutes before I have to leave. But so here's the thing about toxic people, narcissists. Ready? Whether they're just toxic, whether they possess traits, they don't have a strong sense of self. They don't know who they are. Think about people in your life who you know well, maybe your sister or a brother or a close friend, maybe a parent. Like, you probably have a lot of great things to say about them. Like, they're very distinguishable. With narcissists, they're not actually distinguishable. People will say like, oh, they're nice, or, they tend to get along with people, but it rarely goes further than that. There's no depth to them. Another characteristic trait is that they have silent rage. So regardless, whether you have a lot of traits or whether you are a narcissist, whether it's just toxic personality, whatever, you have a lot of rage inside of you. They don't yell all the time. They don't get violent all the time, but they have this very silent rage. They mask it, though, around people who, like other people, because when you live with them, you feel like you're like next to this dormant volcano waiting for it to like erupt at any moment. But other people see them as this nice, quiet person, Oh, are you sure? Maybe you're misreading them, you know? So these are things that I want to make sure you guys understand about their behaviors and their personality to help you start to move forward. Their rage controls the climate of your whole entire house and the people who live there, right? This is the way they maintain, I hate to use the word power, but they control. Let's use the word control. Fact, they lie. They're incredibly great at hiding and masking this. You guys know I don't like to use the word victim, but people who have been victimized by a toxic person or a narcissist, they find it hard to ever believe that they heard these lies sometimes, because this person doesn't seem like the person who would lie. They come across as dependable, maybe trustworthy. So for us, we often feel like they're having this open communication about everything. But in fact, when we start to recognizing behaviors, or we start thinking that maybe things might be wrong, we start to notice things that have us wonder. We're like, oh, wonder why I didn't see that. And when this happens, excuse me. So when this happens and we confront them about it, they're not going to acknowledge our feelings. Guys, I'm so sorry about my dog. Like she's really a jerk. Come here. So they don't acknowledge our feelings. They never put themselves in your shoes because they have no, give it to me.
Empathy.
Yay. Yep, they have no empathy. Instead, they will deflect consistently so that this negative attention, gets turned around on you and off of them. That is their main goal. Put the attention on you, not on them. And they're going to blame you for their bad behavior. Talk to me. Give me examples. Go ahead, Eddie.
Child abuse. My ex blamed me for all the abuse she took off on my son.
Okay, great. Kiki.
Sorry. So every time I would bring up an issue, anything, it would do a complete 360, whether it was, why did you would call her? Why did you go there? Why did you go to Florida? Why did you do this? And he would turn it and say, because just like you did with Mike, remember that? Remember when you called him and went down there? Just like all the bruises on your leg. How did you get those bruises? I'm like, what in God's name do my bruises have to do with this? What is this? Why? And I used to say to him, to his face, what do my bruises have to do? Because you're at the gym an hour and a half. How'd you get those bruises? I literally would stand there and shake my head in disbelief. That's how that's literally how he would just turn the conversation 360. And every time I would say, what do my bruises have to do with anything? What does Mike have to do with anything? Answer the question. Why did you go to Florida? Why would you do that? And he'd say, just like you did, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, it was a losing battle.
It is a losing battle. And the more we get ourselves wrapped up in trying to win that battle, the worse we're going to be. Yeah, Scott.
Great example, Christine. Set a boundary. I'm not comfortable with, say, my daughter being with that affair partner in the car, say. Oh, and then the response would be, well, then I'll have to go and speak to the other two coaches because they drive our daughter too. Total deflection. And you said it right before. The deflection for me is the number one anger spot for me. I'm sorry, I'm not an angry person, but that's the number one anger piece for me.
Okay. Danielle.
Yes, this might be a little bit different, but my narcissist is my mother. So with my daughter, she would do things like, I don't know where your mother's gone. When I just told my mom I'm running to the bank, Emily's fine. I'll be back and I'll feed her dinner. Okay, no problem. I'd come back. My daughter would be eating dinner. Oh, we don't know where you went if you were ever coming back, knowing that I wouldn't start a fuss in front of my daughter. You've ruined our lives. You dumped your daughter on us. Oh, of course, Danielle, stay here. I mean, we couldn't be happier. Please stay. Do it for us. That kind of thing.
Thank you. Yes, Eddie.
My ex used to tell me all the time that the conversation I would have with people, I wasn't answering their question or talking to them appropriately. So she would offer suggestions on how I should speak to people and what I should say.
Okay. And how did that make you feel, Eddie?
Like I was stupid, like I didn't know what I was talking about, like I didn't know who I was.
Great. Thank you. Danielle, is your hand up again or? Okay.
No.
Kiki, go ahead.
Another one would be mine would threaten me to, here's an example. He worked for me, right? And he would say, text me, call me. And if I didn't answer him quick enough or fast enough, he would leave a voicemail or a message and say, I'm leaving the job right now. If you don't get back to me in 5 minutes, I'm leaving. And the place is not going to get inspected and you're not going to get your permits. So those threats to me made me stay with someone.
Well, that's a big, huge red flag, right? The threats.
Yeah.
Empty threats.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cece. Hi, Cece. Welcome.
Hi, well, thank you. I came in at the tail end of the last person that was speaking, so I really don't know what the question was. Was it asking about red flags?
No, we were just honestly just speaking about traits and characteristics and about like constant criticism and maybe even about lies.
Okay. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the deflecting. I know in my relationship with with my ex narc, if I would tell him about something that didn't make me feel good, hey, I don't like that you did that, opposed to addressing my feelings or trying to, let's get to the bottom of it and work through it, he would immediately defend. He would defend himself, even though it had nothing to do with him. It was about me and my feelings. So he would come back and say, well, if that happened to me, I wouldn't do boom, 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 boom. Opposed to just saying, I do apologize. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. It was just completely deflection. It has nothing to do with you. It's all about me. And so that was kind of what I was dealing with in the relationship, just a total disregard for what I was feeling.
Well, good. No, I'm not saying good. I'm saying thank you. I'm glad you're here. That came out wrong. I apologize. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, something like your response is unrelated, or what you're saying is irrelevant, or that has nothing to do with what I'm saying, kind of thing. Yeah.
Thank you. Danielle.
They would constantly say things to me that didn't make sense, like call me a narcissist. I mean, I might be a lot of things, but not that. So like, you're this, you're that, it would not make sense, which I understand now is like what they were saying they were. They would just constantly say things that didn't make sense. And until you finally put it together, then you're really scared because what she's saying is, I'm sabotaging you, I don't love you.
The projection is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
And no one knows it until they've lived it, and no one can understand it until they've been there. So
I can read narc now, and it's pretty scary, the things that they will say.
Well, I want to continue a little bit because I have to leave early today. I told you guys that. So they hoover, right? The hoovering is a technique that's used by narcissists to make it hard for us to move forward. It's how they get us back. It's almost like I think a lot of times about like a fishing rod, like where you have a fucking hook in your neck and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm free. Like I'm swimming along, I'm doing my thing. And then all of a sudden you get jacked and you're being reeled back in and you are literally swimming backwards. And sometimes we don't even fight. Why? Because there's a part of us that feels good when we're with them. So when we're thinking about moving forward, we have to understand that they have groomed us. They know exactly what we need to hear to get us back. I'm saying it like this for a reason. They know exactly what they're doing. I've been doing this for a very long time, and people ask, oh, I really don't think that he or she knows what they're doing. Wrong. They know exactly what they're doing. 1,000,000%. For them, it's all about control. Everything is about control. So think about another thing that we have to thrive beyond, which was the constant criticism. And if you haven't experienced this, then good for you. But most people have said that their toxic person or narcissist will constantly criticize and judge you. And oftentimes, if they're covert, we don't even see it. It's not even obvious to us. But either way, criticism allows them to control us because they're slowly declining and sucking away our self-worth. This is why I call them emotional vampires. So over time, this works on our sense of value. And you end up seeing yourself, as not being lovable, as not being wanted, not being enough. These are things I hear all the time from women and men. They judge us and put us down for even the strangest things, right? It could be anything. So this constant, consistent criticism chips away at our sense of who we are, resulting in the fact that we believe that this person is superior to us and creates this unhealthy dependence on him or her. This weakens our sense of self. It makes us vulnerable. Now, you've heard me talk before about what vulnerability looks like and how we need to be vulnerable when we heal. This is different. This vulnerability is, I am at the hands of you. Like you know what? I would rather be here than have nothing, maybe. Or what am I going to do without you? A couple different things. We've built a life together. So now I'm feeling vulnerable because I want to have this life. I want to have all the things that we talked about. Their criticism becomes more blatant when you begin to stand up for yourself. Has anyone experienced that? When you've stood up for yourself, how their criticism comes in further and harder and harsher, and it's just like getting you to your bone. Yes, Diana.
Oh, I was just agreeing. Yes, I should have put up a heart. Sorry.
That's all right. No worries. A lot of times people who come to me who have been victimized, they have a hard time explaining how jealousy looked because they're really not sure what jealousy looks like. It's more of a feeling that people have, when they live together, because think about it for a second. Toxic people are unhealthy, unhappy people. Who can agree with me? Really? Only one person can agree with me that their toxic person was an unhappy, unhealthy person? Okay, there you go. So think about this. Did this person get jealous when maybe you experienced, life and happiness when you were happy? Were they jealous? They don't want you to be happy and strong because guess what happens when you're happy and strong? It threatens their ability to control you. That control runs so deep through their veins that if you look like you're smiling and you're happy, they're going to have to come in with something that makes you not smile and be unhappy. Yes, Kiki.
Oh, Lord, I'm not proud of this. I'm really not. But it was probably about 4 years ago or right before COVID. And we can get into this some other time because I know you're going to close this out soon. But mine started to, I call it feed me alcohol, right? So I would come home, we'd have lunch, and he would have a cocktail for he and I. And I would be like, oh. And he's like, yeah, come on, let's celebrate. We're going to have just whatever. I'm like, it's 12 o'clock. I'd be like, so what? It's fun. So what? So mine slowly started to feed me cocktails, which got me off my guard, which then started to let me get that abuse, sort of not realize. And when your guards are down, when your defense is down, yeah, you're going to get punched. And I got that. And unfortunately, I had to figure out after 4 years and getting through sobriety, I didn't even know that was what was happening. That's how insane these people are.
Thank you. Yes, Scott.
Christine, you're so right. So the criticism piece in 5 seconds. Great day, had a fun time laughing with my children, and oh, this place is an absolute mess. And I find it hard to believe because it was just clean 3 hours prior to that. So
Right.
again, that
Scott, were
point
you a
that
stay-at-home dad?
no, I was not, but I am actually a full-time finance guy, and I do clean and I do laundry, even though the order of protection says that I don't. So
All
I'll
right.
give every little laugh there.
No, I'm just saying because I do know your story, and I know that there was a lot of blame in terms of like household things. I was just I mean I wasn't judging. I was just asking.
No, it's just no. I do it. Listen, it's you have 3 children, you have to do your part, but I don't mind doing the laundry and doing all that. She does most of the cooking. I'm a horrible cook. I'll be very honest.
Hey guys, so I want to ask you: is this okay if I do this? I can leave this group open, and you guys can talk amongst yourselves. I will tell you. Maybe I will just put in the chat a couple of the other traits that I want to talk about, and you guys can talk about them amongst yourselves if you want, or I can continue them in next week's session because there's a lot of them. I feel like though maybe I should close it. Just I don't want things to get out of hands, but what do you guys think? I don't ever want anyone to feel like I'm not here.
I think you should close it.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. That's my thought too. So one of the last things I'm going to talk about in terms of moving forward is understanding how the projection of their own issues and lack of self-worth and lack of self-trust and lack of self-love are projected onto you. So think about all the things that your toxic person has said to you, which are wrong, or they've said, oh, this is wrong with you. My hunch is that if you really look at this, these statements are true only about him or her. They never acknowledge their own issues. I've told you I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I've never had a person come to me and say, Dr. Kuperman, I think I'm a narcissist. I think I need help. I've had people who have been like you guys who have said like, oh my gosh, like they make me feel like maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it is me. That's different. I've never had a person who has said, I think I'm a narcissist and there's something wrong with me. We know this because they never think anything's wrong. There is no accountability. They do not acknowledge their own issues. Instead, they project them onto people who love them, right? This means that you are going to end up feeling their guilt and shame for issues that aren't even yours. So guys, I want to leave you with these couple thoughts about not taking accountability for their behavior. Instead, project what is true about them. Think about that for a second. Projecting what is true. Another way that they project their own fears onto us is that they kind of share their fears. And guys, I'm really not being complacent when I say this. I'm afraid you're going to cheat on me. That way, that's why I'm trying to keep you close. That's why I'm trying to control you. That's bullshit. And then maybe later you find out they had an affair. Another quote could be, I feel like you're going to, that you're manipulating me. Where in all the while, they're the ones that are manipulating you. They manipulate you by putting the focus on you, right? They seem completely sincere. So you don't even notice that these are actually their problems. They say things like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take responsibility for my part in this, but you know what? I'll take your responsibility because you're not taking any. Where the truth lies is that you are taking all the responsibility for this. But then you think like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not. This is the curveball that they throw at us all the time that deflects the fact they're liars. Have any of you guys ever felt that maybe when you're away from this person, like even when you're at work or you're at your mom's house or your dad, whatever, that you don't feel as heavy? You don't feel like you're walking on eggshells, or a place you can finally feel free to be yourself? That's the problem, guys. This is where I tell you guys that we need to understand and start to think about what it looks like for us to be in that situation all the time. Because in no way, shape, or form should we have to live in a situation where we are afraid to go home, where we are afraid to walk in the door, where we are afraid of, I don't know, for our self-worth, our self-value. We should not be afraid of that. With that, guys, I am going to leave you. I do have to close this tonight. I am so sorry, but I will be back at 6:00 after this meeting. So I hope to see you guys there. For those of you who are new to me, I appreciate you being here. I love that you're here for yourselves and for other people. Please follow me if you can. Leave me feedback if you want. If you want to know more about what Circles has to offer or anything like that, you can always DM me and we can chat. If not, then I will see you guys at 6. And if not, then I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.